America's Mayor Live. And we are live from Palm Beach. Now, in back of me, you see New York City. There's a reason for that. The reason for that is that there's a very, very important debate going on in New York City as we speak between the three candidates for mayor of New York City. The Democrat socialist candidate, Zohran Mamdani, the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, and the independent candidate and former governor, Andrew Cuomo. And they're 1 hour into it. And the reason it's such an important debate, and I mean, there have been many, many mayoral debates, but the reason this is so important is, and I will not exaggerate this one bit, the outcome of this election will determine whether New York City remains not only the greatest city in the world, but even a decent city, or becomes an example of communist, socialist, pro-criminal behavior. I don't know how he answered the question about prostitution. He is now offering free buses for people. And Cuomo, who I'm trying to read his lips, I think is trying to explain why that would be impossible, given the fact that the city is in fact technically bankrupt. Not just technically bankrupt, it is bankrupt. And he wants to add, anywhere from 10 to 20 billion more to that. Instead of taking a look at what the city is doing wrong. I mean, the city of New York has a budget that is the same as the budget of the state of Florida, where I am sitting right now. And the state of Florida has 22 million people. The city of New York has 8.4 million people. So you explain to me how they need all that money. They don't have like 3-4 times better services in New York. The reality is, because the Democrat Party, whenever it's been in control of New York, has been crooked. It's just the history of New York. I have a hard time finding a mayoralty in the last 150 years of a Democrat that wasn't crooked. This is where Tammany Hall came from. I mean, I can say they were great authorities since I put a lot of them in jail. And Mamdani takes it now from that to communism, socialism, and virile hatred of the Jewish people, to the point where he is vowed to arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he comes to New York, which is, of course, ridiculous. So I don't know. I have no idea what kind of bull he's giving to people. But I mean, the city can't afford what it's doing right now. How the hell is it going to afford free buses? Universal child care. There's a reason for that, You can find it in Karl Marx. They want control of your children. He also is a complete tool of the teachers union, which was founded by communists and is communist, because he is now in favor of reducing the size of classes. Well, that sounds really good, doesn't it? Reducing the size of classes. Do you know, as we've reduced the size of classes, our educational outcomes have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. They are spending twice as much money per student as when I was mayor. When I was mayor, we were competitive as one of the top school systems in the country. Now we're 26th and 27th. Less than half of the students that graduate from New York City schools can do adequate math and reading. Well, if and when they go to college, the first 2 years of college is really high school remediation, even at Harvard, which really isn't a college anymore. It's a Marxist training center, I mean, you know, you can get it. You can get a degree in gender modification. You know, or it takes a long time to learn all 57 genders. Imagine how long it takes to go through all 57 genders, which I now have found out includes furry people. And therefore, in the New York City's classrooms, they actually do bring in kitty litter and for the kids who think they're kittens. I mean, it has to be child abuse to entertain that, to encourage them in that behavior. It has to be child abuse. A little girl is not a kitten. A little boy is not a kid. A little boy is a little boy, and a little girl is a little girl. I mean, it's bad enough they confuse that. Now we got furry people. That's a gender? No, it isn't. It's insanity. If I walk around thinking I'm a big lion and I try to bite people as a lion, they could put me in the nut house if we had nut houses. One of the backgrounds we were going to show was the Goldberg Pavilion. It's got about 4,000 or 5,000 rooms there for nuts, none of which are filled. They're all walking the streets of New York. And if one of them, Mamdani will have them all walking the streets of New York. I have to bring this up only because of my current method of going to sleep at night. When it really gets bad and I can't sleep, I put on dog rescue podcasts. They're fabulous. They're fabulous. Some of them are phony. I figured out now how to, if you ever want to go through this, maybe I'll do a separate one and put it on because not everybody might not be interested in it, but I can show you how to spot the phony ones. Like I can show you how to spot the phony Cuban cigars. But the ones that aren't are beautiful. I mean, I've seen some that are absolutely beautiful. And you learn a lot about the human personality by watching these. So there's somebody known as Hassan Piker.
I know the name. What's Hassan doing now?
He's a Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
He's beloved by the far left.
Yeah.
For his stupendously bloodthirsty anti-American and anti-Jewish politics.
Yeah.
He sits in the basement of his comfortable Southern California mansion and reads through the news of the day. This comes from the National Review, Jeffrey Blahar. Since his views go up when his Siberian Husky is on screen, Piker has attached a shock collar incredibly tightly to his dog's neck, and he shocks it to keep it in place in fear. The public reaction to this vile animal abuse has been negative, to say the least. Evidently, the world will happily tolerate, even elevate, a vicious anti-Semitic moron who said that America deserved 9/11. But it won't stand for a guy who shocks his dog to make it function as a prop for his podcast. Now, I will grant you that distinction, and but I love dogs, and I'm going to give you, Jeffrey, an example from my own experience. We had a terrible, terrible accident when I was the mayor, and they were building one of the grand new buildings on Times Square. And it was considered an unlucky building. Now, you should know that when New York builds skyscrapers, it's not uncommon to lose some people. Skyscrapers are inherently dangerous to build. They've become safer, but they're inherently dangerous. And but this building was having all kinds of problems, not just people getting hurt, but all kinds of things had to be done differently, and it was taking much longer than it should. And all of a sudden, one day, I think it's 43rd Street, the big crane fell down on a hotel, a relatively small hotel, relatively small meaning 8-10 stories, and it crushed it. And it created a fire. And believe it or not, I'm not sure everybody was saved, but most people were. It was the middle of the day. They probably were working. But a homeless woman on the top floor who no one even knew her family died. And at or about the same time, a horse died on Fifth Avenue. And about 3 days into this, as we're kind of working our way out of what was going on there, my chief of staff, Tony Carbonetti, came to me and said, Mayor, I don't know how to tell you this, but we've got about 2,000 letters about the horse, about 2,000 letters and communications about the horse and what you're doing about the horse. And also about 1,000 that say you're not taking care of the dogs and cats that might be in the building. And you wouldn't let the firefighters go back in.
But yeah.
And we've gotten nothing on that poor woman. And by the way, they don't know, they're going to have to bury her in Potter's Field, and they don't have any money for a funeral for her. I said, do you have any idea what religion she was? Yeah, she had rosary beads and she's a Catholic. I said, well, I tell you what, Tony, maybe we can give the city a little lesson. We're going to do a funeral, and City Hall is going to go to the funeral. And I'm going to call the cardinal because he's a wonderful man. And I'm going to explain the whole thing to him. And I bet you Cardinal O'Connor says the Mass. He says, oh, the cardinal. Tony, you can say the Mass. I didn't even have to ask him. The minute I called him and asked to do it there, he said, I'll say the Mass. And then he gave her a grand Mass. And we did eventually find some of her family. And she had, 400 or 500 people at her funeral, because we also got people in the city to come. Now, this isn't that I hate animals. I love animals. Yeah, I don't think you're going to find too many people that love animals as much as I do. But I have it in a proper perspective. Now, here's the proper perspective. They wanted me to send my firefighters in to take out the cats and the dog, mostly cats that were in there. My buildings commissioner said to me the building was structurally unsound, and it had to be kind of adjusted, and from the outside they had to put beams up because there was a great risk that it was going to collapse at any time, and various parts of it were collapsing. Some of my firefighters wanted to go in. Even my fire commissioner got a little squishy on me to get out the cats. I said, no way. I used to go to the homes of the firefighters who died and have to explain to their families how they died. I just was not going to go and say, your son, Jack, died going to get Tabby out of sorry. Just wasn't going to do it. I'm a member of Western civilization. I'm a Christian and a Catholic. And human life is just different. It's special. God didn't make animals in his image and likeness, only us. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be wonderful to them. It doesn't mean we shouldn't treat them as kindly as possible. It also means we shouldn't lose perspective and become furry people. We'll take a short break after that lecture. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. Am I back?
We are back.
Well, there I am. right in the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Well, let's take another commercial. We'll take another commercial break. We were caught in the middle of handing something off here. So.
Well, we can do it later. We can do a commercial break later if you want.
Yeah.
We can show them. You want to show them a little of the debate?
Let's show a little
We have
bit
no.
of,
We have no idea what I see. Quality of life, illegal parking. I don't know if we're coming in on the highest note here, but quality of life is important.
So we got it on now. People can hear it at home.
I can't.
That would
We're
be
going to have
terrible.
time to address that.
I want to be very clear. Not only have I never called for the legalization of prostitution, I'm not calling for that today either. And I also have never said anything about not enforcing misdemeanors. This is just yet another figment of Andrew Cuomo's imagination.
The DSA, which you give your part of your salary to, that's their position: abolish jails, no new carceral facilities, don't enforce misdemeanors. And you're on the bill in Albany as a sponsor to decriminalize prostitution.
The difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo, of which there are many, is that there is no one that is actually telling me what to do other than the 8.5 million people who call this city home. If you want my policies, you'll find them on my website.
Who told you to legalize prostitution?
Okay, we actually have a question.
now
Andrew,
that
you
we're
can't
in the-
escape this. You signed the law doing away with loitering for prostitution. That was the law put forward by Jessica
All right,
Ramos.
gentlemen,
you
not what-
started the prostitution
All right, gentlemen,
in
Mr.
East
Sliwa.
Elmhurst,
That's not what
and
Curtis.
Jackson Heights and Flushing.
Mr. Sliwa, we have
And you want to add to it,
You don't
which
know.
Mr.
diminishes
Sliwa.
the quality of life.
Mr. Sliwa, when I talk over you, nobody's hearing you, and we actually have a question on that. So we'll
Yeah.
let Rosarina ask.
And for this question, candidates, we want to come to Queens, where we know that prostitution has been an ongoing complaint. Mayor Adams formed a task force and ordered sweeps by the NYPD. But the situation continues, especially around the very popular Roosevelt Avenue. As mayor, Mr. Mamdani, how would you handle this situation? You have 30 seconds.
I want to first be clear that I am not, and nor have I ever called for the legalization of prostitution. And if you are happy with what's happening on Roosevelt Avenue, then you should vote for Andrew Cuomo, because his policy is to continue the exact same ones we've seen under Eric Adams. My policy is to actually take on sex trafficking, to have a zero tolerance for violence against women, and to follow the advice of district attorneys that we have here in New York City, the current Manhattan DA, the former Manhattan DA, the current Brooklyn DA, the former Manhattan DA having said that prosecuting women for prostitution is something that actually leads to less safety. And what we need to do is provide an economy
Mr.
of
Mamdani,
opportunity.
just a quick clarification. So no legalization, how about decriminalization?
I do not think that we should be prosecuting women who are struggling, who are currently being thrown in jail, and then being offered job opportunities. I think we should be actually providing those kinds of opportunities at the first point of interaction.
Mr. Cuomo,
Yeah.
your turn.
Look, Bill de Blasio, the assemblyman is a mini-me BDB, okay? He's Bill de Blasio light. He proposed legalizing prostitution. He didn't get it, and he just told the cops, don't arrest any more prostitutes. There is a bill in Albany that he signed that says the prostitution, that a woman who is a prostitute, that would be decriminalized. That is what the bill says. And that's what he said, if you listen very carefully. That would take Roosevelt Avenue and explode it, because it would make it legal for prostitutes.
But real quick, how would you handle this situation?
You have to enforce the law. It's illegal. I went to Roosevelt Avenue. I talked to the store owners. I talked to the neighbors. I walked down Roosevelt Avenue
Thank
with
you. I have to
prostitutes
move on
there
to
at 9
Mr.
o'clock in the
Sliwa.
morning.
Your turn, Mr. Sliwa.
I've dealt with this back in the 80s and 90s in Hell's Kitchen in Chelsea, when they were overrun with open-air prostitution and Times Square. You don't go after the women. The women are the victims here. You lock up the Johns, you shame the Johns. You let everybody know about the Johns. The madams and the pimps need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And these absentee landlords who knowingly rent their rooms, their apartments out for the use of prostitution, the Department of Buildings should come in, padlock the building, seize the building. Because many of these landlords live in Delray, Florida. They did back in the 80s and 90s when we did it in Chelsea and Times Square and Hell's Kitchen. And they're doing it again, and
Thank you,
there's
Mr.
no
Sliwa.
enforcement. That's why the prostitution.
We're going to go to Sally now.
Thank you, David. We're going to talk a bit about experience and beliefs. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, but we want to probe a bit deeper into each of your mindsets and how you'll approach governing as mayor. Mr. Cuomo, you have touted your experience on the campaign trail time and again, but you pretty squarely lost the Democratic primary to Mr. Mamdani, forcing you, a lifelong Democrat, to run as an independent. That decision, you said, quote, "When you get knocked down, learn the lesson and pick yourself back up." What lesson did you learn, and what do you feel it said about you, something you did wrong, something that you need to change about yourself?
Yeah, I think in the primary campaign, I did not do enough on social media, which is a very effective medium now. I think the Assemblyman did do a better job on TikTok and social media than I did during the campaign, and that has changed now. I've also increased my activity significantly, but my agenda is exactly the same. I am the Democrat, although I'm not on the Democratic line. He is a Democratic socialist, called Barack Obama evil and a liar, didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Fight and deliver is, I will fight for people, I will fight the bureaucracy, and I will deliver results. New Yorkers need the mayor to get something done. This is all words and theories. I am a manager who can actually get things done.
This is a question about self-reflection. Is the thing you're reflecting on the most that you need to be on social media more? Was there any other deeper lesson that you learned?
Between the two campaigns, social media, more accessibility.
Okay.
I just have to say, it's been an hour and 20 minutes of this debate, and we haven't heard Governor Cuomo say the word affordability. That's why he lost the primary. That's why he'll lose the general election. And you can lie all you want, but the truth is, I voted for Kamala Harris. I'm the only candidate on this stage to have the endorsement of Kamala Harris, and I'm not the one who's funded by Bill Ackman, who called Kamala Harris unqualified to be the vice president of this country.
Okay, may I respond?
Yes, brief response, please.
There are a lot of New Yorkers who support me. And there are a lot of Jewish New Yorkers who support me because they think you're anti-Semitic. So it's not about Trump or Republican. It's about you.
Do you think he's anti-Semitic, Mr. Cuomo?
I don't make those judgments about people. Are you a racist? Are you an anti-Semite? I know there are many Jewish people who believe he is anti-Semitic. I believe not condemning the globalized Intifada, what he has said about Hamas.
But Mr.
I can
Cuomo,
see where they are
I'm
inflamed.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I covered your speech in an Upper West Side synagogue where you said anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. There is no difference. And you were talking about Mr. Mamdani. Is that not an allegation?
No, I make that statement all the time. I wasn't referring to Mamdani.
Okay, all right. Mr. Mamdani, a brief response, and then we have to move on.
I have denounced Hamas again and again, and it will never be enough for Andrew Cuomo, because what he is willing to say, even though not on this stage, is to call me, the first Muslim on the precipice of leading this city, a terrorist sympathizer, is to send mailers that artificially lengthen my beard, is to say to New Yorkers that they should be fearful.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani.
What I will do is deliver for all.
Melissa has a specific question
Mr.
for you.
Mamdani, you are the Democratic nominee, and you're also a member, as we've been discussing, of a political organization that may be less familiar to New Yorkers, the Democratic Socialists of America, which believes in dismantling capitalism.
Melissa Russo covered me for 8 years, and I consider her a very, very fine reporter. And I consider her a friend. Obviously, I'm not going to blame this on her, but it's all of them. Does Curtis Sliwa get a chance to talk? What is he, garbage? You see, he put his hand up. I got to teach him. You don't put your hand up. What would you like me to leave? I think in between. I said, look, one is worse than the other. Would you like me to leave? I mean, under Mamdani, it's going to go down in 2 years. Under Cuomo, it'll take 3. So maybe I should just go out on the street and talk to the people there, because I don't get a chance to talk. And I mean, and all they're doing is personally attacking each other. I'm actually laying out solutions to things, which he is. And I mean, Cuomo is absolutely this guy Mamdani. I mean, geez, he must have lied his entire life. He never supported legalizing prostitution. How about this quote? Sex work is work. He voted in favor of a bill to do away with loitering for the purpose of engaging in prostitution from the penal code. Do you know that's how I cleaned up prostitution? And I have to say, Curtis was right, and also Curtis was wrong in his answer. Curtis said, you got to go after the Johns. Certainly, you got to go after the pimps. Is there anything lower than a pimp? And you got to go after now the human traffickers, because this has become, I mean, they're not getting into it, but you want me to get really conspiratorial? Islamic terrorism makes a fortune off human trafficking with the cartels. He will put 5 times more money in their pocket if you legalize this prostitution. I mean, the Islamic extremists who he supports. Cuomo is absolutely right. He is an Islamic extremist. He supports Hamas. Every time he's called upon to condemn what they do, he equivocates and he doesn't. And he makes statements about the Jewish people that I never heard anybody say in New York, anybody, any place. I grew up in a neighborhood that was Italian, Irish, and Jewish. So I know plenty of jokes about Italians and Irish and Jews, and I do not consider myself naive on the subject. I mean, this guy, I would have knocked the shit out of him when I was a kid if he talked like that about my Jewish friends. He would be coming on that stage with a black eye. Sorry, I grew up in a tough neighborhood like he did, like the guy you see on the screen right now. Maybe sometimes it helps. And I just don't understand why they don't give. I guess they gave him some time right there.
I wanted to play it, but
That's okay. We can go. We can. Dr. Maria will come and give us a good analysis of it. Want to put him on now?
it's Curtis Sliwa.
Just convert it into residential housing. You don't need to go into the outer
You're
boroughs.
opposing
You
the
don't need to
policy to
use
build more
wetlands
housing.
and
thank you.
parklands, which
Okay.
they
Thank
seek to do. If you build a new building, it takes 5 years. If you convert an
All right, Mr.
existing
Sliwa, thank you. We want to
building,
change the
it
pace
can
here a
be
little
done
bit.
in a year.
I want to change the pace and just get a sense of what you think about political leadership.
You're interrupting.
Curtis,
They hardly let him speak, and then they interrupt him when he speaks.
The hell was that?
They hardly let him speak, and then they interrupt him when he speaks.
Yeah.
Now, I'm telling you, when I ran for mayor, they did that to me as a Republican.
It's crazy. But we shouldn't be surprised, right? That's the thing there, right?
Not when I was an incumbent, but I didn't let him do it to me.
You didn't. Yeah. I have a feeling they weren't going to keep the mayor off the mic. These guys. But you're right, Mayor. But again, we shouldn't be too surprised, right? This has been happening in debates.
No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, right.
I just thought maybe I'll see if I have a private conversation with one of them. They have to know how dangerous Mamdani is. They're not stupid. I mean, this is not the usual candidate. Cuomo is the usual Democrat candidate. That's a usual Democrat candidate. Starting with de Blasio, we started to nominate communists. De Blasio is also a communist. His mother was a communist. He went to Cuba on his honeymoon. Who the hell goes to Cuba on the honeymoon? Either a communist or a big dope, which he's both. What was Curtis's name for him? Oh, it wasn't Curtis. I'm thinking of Bo Dietl. What did he call? He had a name for de Blasio, like something that came out like big stupid jerk. But he's the beginning of the downfall of the city. Mamdani will put it on overdrive. Boom, and he's got even more of a city council, and he will have, because they're electing a lot of new people, and then it always tends to be that the new people are further left than the old people. Some of the old people that have been there for a while have actually gained some wisdom. The new ones come in and they want to do all that crazy crap that he's talking about. And if they can, they'll vote for it. Free buses. Now, he can't do free buses. I'm surprised maybe he did. I'm surprised Cuomo didn't point out it's all garbage. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority runs the buses and the subways. The governor has the deciding vote. Right. He can go, and I'm telling you, She's not doing that in an election year. Not if she doesn't want to lose by 30%. She got enough problems with her commuter tax that's put on, Yeah, I mean, now you say, well, gee, even the people in the city don't appreciate that. She's a terrible, terrible, terrible governor. I mean, some of the others get more play than her because at least they know how to talk. She doesn't even know how to talk. So she doesn't get much play. She just walks around making funny noises. But she's about as stupid as they come. And if they just get that damn stadium all fixed up and her husband could walk off with the millions they're going to make, she'd leave. I don't know if she has really an interest in the city. The last 8 years as a Buffalo crooked Democrat, and now as the mayor, all she's been interested in is making sure that the Buffalo Bills Stadium gets done in exactly the same place it is now, against the wishes of the people of Buffalo. And her husband's company that runs all of the concessions can start making 2 and 3 times what it's making now. Did you know that one of the great money makers in the new stadiums, of course, are the concessions, because they make the stadiums much more amenable to people using the concessions. So you're at a ball game. It's the 3rd inning. You want a hot dog. They're not coming down and bringing them to you. Your kid wants a hot dog. You go up to get the hot dog. There's a line with 40 people on it. You say to yourself, I'm not missing the bottom of the top of the 4th. And half the people come and sit down. Now, you make those things much bigger. A lot more of the stadium now is concessions. Yeah, there's no line on any concession that's more than 3 people, 4 people. The first year that the Yankees had the new stadium, they almost doubled their revenues. The second year, they doubled their revenues. I think they paid for the stadium with like 3 or 4 years of concessions. They make a fortune off the concessions in the new Yankee Stadium and the new Citi Field. And her hubby owns a lot of the company that has the concessions for the Buffalo Bills. So, and she was a local official who pushed the whole stadium through. And also threw in extra money from the state to keep it going, because like the Pelosi's, I mean, she wants to leave with $300-400 million, right? But Democrats are crooks. Don't you know that? A lot of them are crooks. They have been for a century and a half. Why would it be a big surprise? I mean, the history of the party is history of massive crookedness, much more so than the Republican Party. Not that there aren't crooks in the Republican Party, but the Democratic Party was just like, they have places in the country where the entire party is crooked. One of them is in back of me. You think about the judges. That's another thing. He'll get to appoint the judges. Now, the judges in New York are crazy anyway. Here's a guy. His name is Timothy Bowler. He's been in and out of jail since he was a teenager. It includes killing a cancer survivor in Queens while on release from state prison. In other words, he's a killer. At 31, he's had 45 arrests on his rap sheet. 20 of them are sealed because they happened before he was 18 or before. Why they're sealed, I have no idea. I mean, if it's 1 or 2, you seal them because the guy's got a clean record as an adult and you don't want to destroy him. I understand that. But once a guy turns out to be a career criminal, what the hell are we hiding the 16 that he did before? What good is that going to do? It's just going to have judges have an excuse to give him a lesser sentence. One of those, I think, was a murder. Do you understand how the Democrats love criminals? They write laws that help criminals and that hurt innocent people. So his record begins when he's 16. The most recent one is he sliced off the finger of an MTA worker. On October 9, he was hit with a new charge for allegedly killing pedestrian Lalawati Nareen, a cancer survivor, in a hit and run accident in Queens. And that was in March of 2024. Now, her death took place make sure you get this right now, between December of 2022, when Bowl was released from prison, okay, from an attempted murder case, that he pleaded down to assault, so he was let out early. And June 2024, when he was busted for violating the conditions of his release, and then he was released again, and then he was arrested 2 more times, and he was released again. It's during that period of time that he killed this woman. Now, they are unnecessarily careful in not giving me the names of the lousy, crooked judges who did this, because they blame everything on the bail law. They blame everything on the bail law. They blame everything on the hiding of the juvenile records, which Cuomo did that, and the DAs like Bragg who don't prosecute. They don't realize a lot of this are the judges, and it's been this way. I mean, I had to fight this when I was mayor. Here's the good thing, or the bad thing. The mayor will get to a point in 4 years, 30 criminal court judges. They'll be there after he leaves for another 10 years. Can you imagine who he's going to put on the court? He doesn't believe in incarceration for anything. Adams attempted to put people on who would set bail. Now, some of them don't because they're Democrats. So, Lalawadi Nareen would be alive if Democrats didn't control New York. If it operated, like say, the way it operated when I was the mayor, or it operated the way the state of Florida operates. She'd be alive if she lived someplace else. You think maybe that's a good reason to move? But there's a better chance you'll be killed there than someplace else. He will take what is already a terrible situation, as you can see from this case, and it'll make it worse. Now we have another one, Dimitri Marshall. He was busted on Monday for slashing a 27-year-old strap hanger right across the face. He went before Bronx, now we have a name, Bronx Criminal Court Judge Ralph Wolf on September 15th on charges that he attacked another passenger in the Bronx in August. The prosecutor asked that he be held on $50,000 cash bail or $150,000 bond for slashing the hell out of this guy's face. The judge, who is a member of the, who is by virtue of being a criminal court judge, there's no question that this guy is part of the Bronx Democrat machine. Need I say anything more than part of the Bronx Democrat machine? It's like Moron, who was part of the Manhattan Democrat regime. You know, Moron put a lien on my bank accounts. I'll tell you about that one another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's outrageous. This guy's still operating and ruining people.
Right.
Ran for office 3 times, never had opposition. And now his patron is Keith Wright. There's a whole story about that. So the district attorney asked for $50,000 cash bail, $150,000 bond. Here's the Bronx machine excuse for a judge. Well, certainly I have information before me that it would be perfectly reasonable for me to set bail here. I don't have no bail on me, says Marshall, which he shouted. I know, the judge responded, based on the allegations and the record and what I'm supposed to consider, so I think you understand. As long as I stay out of trouble, Marshall said. Wolf then warned him to check in regularly for supervised release and let him loose without bail. That let him free on Monday so that he could slash Fernando, the victim, whose face has been permanently ruined by this animal. By the way, he had 7 arrests, including on his record when this crooked judge, because they're crooked when they do this. I don't know if they're crooked. The crooked ones are the ones, and they have a lot of those too. They're the ones who work with the county leaders and they fix cases. They make a fortune that way. Or they throw cases to the county leaders' law firm. Or they give the county leaders' law firms ridiculously large judgments. That's the crooked ones. This is, I think, more insane, pro-criminal, Democrat, socialist, communist ideology. That's been going on. For example, this guy, Keith Wright, his father was as bad as all these people. He was Ed Koch's nemesis. Ed Koch used to call him, let him loose, Bruce. He was probably the most famous for letting people loose that intimidated and assaulted and beat and did awful things to the people in New York. And he's the guy selecting judges.
Absurd.
He's now being held. He's now being held without bail. A little late for the poor guy that lost his face, huh? I mean, he had like robbery convictions. He was in Sing Sing. He had 7 arrests, an unprovoked attack on a 27-year-old man on an MTA bus, robbery, and you let him out without bail. And you don't expect that one of your decent citizens isn't going to get seriously injured as a result of that. He's just lucky somebody didn't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to get. See what I'm explaining to you? That's before you get Mamdani, who's going to deliberately appoint judges like this. They're going to all be let him loose Bruces, like Keith Wright's father.
100%.
And I don't know, you want to start counting up the beaten up people, the rape people, the dead people that they cause. It's not without a terrible price for their insanity, stupidness. A Mamdani bench, there was a column yesterday that if you can get it, you should read, by Betsy McCoy, former lieutenant governor of New York, laying out what 4 years of Mamdani can do to what is already a pro-criminal bench. And in the case of the Supreme Court justices in Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens, run and controlled by the Democratic headquarters in the city. It has nothing to do with justice, a court. They live at the beck and call of the Democrat Party. The first time I ran for mayor, people wanted to contest it. Among other things, having been a lawyer in New York for that many years, I knew I wouldn't have a prayer in a Democrat court. Wouldn't have a prayer. And I'm not sure there were enough votes to even do it. It was close. And I wasn't going to do it anyway. It was a different era. It was the Nixon Kennedy. And I got very close. I got 49%, 48%. So I could, live to fight another day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it was all about that. But I remember concluding, aren't we stupid talking about this? We're never going to win in a Democrat court. And that's 35 years ago, 40 years. Yeah, but that could have been 100 years ago.
Right.
The court system in New York is fatally flawed by the appointment process of Supreme Court justices. It is not an election. When you are a one-party city like ours, the election is a fiction.
Right.
And very, very often there is no election. Like Engel Moron never had anybody run against him. There wasn't even a make-believe election. If he did, that guy would have gotten 5% and he would have gotten 95. Now, when you get elected like that, and you really probably aren't much of a lawyer, really, or maybe you're not very energetic. You got to keep that job. Who's gonna hire a jackass like Angamora? A practicing lawyer couldn't do things like say that Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million and not get thrown out of the law firm.
Right. That's exactly right. The accountability is just not there for them.
So what the former lieutenant governor concludes is a Mamdani mayoralty will mean more dangerous criminals on the streets. Mamdani is vowing to close the Rikers Island jail complex, reducing the city's jail capacity by thousands. Every previous reduction in the Rikers Island population has led to a crime surge. Almost correct. I can think of one that didn't, but it's a small academic point. But I back up what she's saying by something I say all the time, and I can take you to New York. I can stop pointing them out. There are about 7,000 people walking the streets of the city that wouldn't be walking the streets of the city if I were mayor, or Bloomberg and Kelly were there. That number will go up to 10,000 with this guy. It'll go up to 10,000.
Not good.
In 2022, Assemblyman Mamdani co-sponsored the Less is More Act. What do you think that means? It exempts parolees from having to return to prison the first 2 times they get in trouble with the law. So you go out on parole. The whole idea of parole is to reintegrate you in society so you become an honest citizen. So let's say you're a burglar. Can you think like a burglar? I can, because I used to prosecute them. So let's say you're a burglar, right? And you haven't made money in about maybe 3-4 years because you got a real sentence for burglary, 5 years. You're pretty anxious. I mean, it's like letting a great runner out who hasn't been able to run for a while. That's what the guy does for a living. What he does for a living is he breaks into houses and steals things. There are career criminals. If you don't understand that, you don't understand a damn thing. You put them in jail, crime goes down. You let them go out, and they're crime machines. Before you catch them again, who knows how many crimes? You're not going to catch them on the first one. They could do 10. They could do 50. They could do 100. They could do 200 before you catch them again. But they're going to do them because that's what they do for a living. And you can figure it out pretty easy when you watch how they move from being a juvenile into adult crime. And you can figure the career criminals out pretty easily. If you need help, you could read James Q. Wilson's book that was written in 1978 about how to identify career criminals and the unbelievably good work that's done over the years in reducing crime and saving people's lives. The Less is More Act, as a result, 85% of parole violators stay free after reoffending. So they let you out of prison to show you're going to be a good boy. And you go burgle a house, and they say, okay, we're not going to put you in. Actually, you can get one more. You can get one more before we put you back. But and then you burgle a second house, and probably they find a reason not to put you back even then. It's garbage, they put you back. But in any event, let's say they do. You think there were only 2 in that period of time? There probably were 50, 100, 200. People's homes invaded. As a result, 85% of parole violators stay free after reoffending. Another result, Maureen and Frank Olton of Belrose, Queens are dead. The elderly couple were butchered in their home in September by repeat parole violator Jamel McGriff, who then set their house afire with them in it. This was a guy who benefited from this insane Democrat, pro-criminal, anti-innocent person law. More gruesome news to follow if Mamdani wins the race. None of this is scare tactics. All of it is, unfortunately, straight out reality. And man, New Yorkers better face it. They better face it. I mean, it's not going to be a picnic no matter who's elected. I mean, they're going to be left with enormous problems, like I was. Curtis has the question that was asked in one of the more thoughtful columns was, okay, how can the Republican with a city council as not just as Democrat, but as a socialist and actually stupid and crazy? For example, the present city council, and this next one will be made up probably of half of them and half new ones, voted to allow illegal aliens to vote. Now, that's pretty stupid anyway, right? But the state constitution sets the parameters for voting, the requirements. One of them is that you have to be a citizen of the United States. Well, how could these sub-morons actually think they could pass this? Well, they did, and the first court overruled it. The second court now is having problems with it. Maybe they can't read the Constitution. Or maybe the Democratic leader came to them, one of these crooked leaders and said, screw it up until the election so we don't lose the fake alien vote that we brought here to vote for us. Well, do we take our break?
We did, but we can
check
in on the debate.
Yeah, let's check in on the debate.
We'll check in on the debate.
And then I want to talk a little about the Voting Rights Act, because I think it's very interesting what's going to come out of that. And we'll see.
Be violent.
And Dr. Maria
It
will
is a
probably
very
be finished now.
dangerous situation. And I think you should have a mental health worker accompanied with a police officer, because these can be explosive situations. I have been in situations that seemed apparently calm and fine, and then erupted into violence very quickly, and it got very dangerous very quickly. So I would have a social worker with a police officer and get the people off the streets. That's the humane thing, and get them the care they need, not institutionalize 40,000 people again. We have supportive housing now, which is what we use, and forensic beds for people who need them.
So let me get this straight. A police officer is there first. He has to wait for the arrival of a mental health care worker.
No, I would send them as a team.
As a team. But that's not realistic. You're dealing with fantasy
Okay.
also.
All right.
The police officers are going to be the first one on the scene,
Okay.
and they're
Thank you,
always going to
Mr.
have
Sliwa.
to deal with it first and foremost.
All right,
Mr.
you all were
Cuomo
able
says
to
that
explain.
he has experience running homeless programs. What he has experience doing is cutting funding for the very programs that prevented homelessness here in New York City. As the governor, he cut funding for the Advantage program, which was putting New Yorkers who had otherwise been in shelters, otherwise been homeless, into
Okay, Mr.
apartments.
Mamdani,
I met
thank you.
one
Mr.
of those
Cuomo.
New
Okay,
Yorkers.
Mr. Cuomo,
and she
brief
told me
response,
how that
please.
pushed her out on the
Thank you,
street.
Mr. Mamdani. Brief response, Mr.
He's
Cuomo.
talking about a program 14 years ago that was a pilot program that had a work requirement. It was very controversial. It was $65 million.
You're talking about Advantage, just so we know
The
what you're
Advantage
talking
program.
about? Okay.
It was 14 years ago, $65 million. I added billions to the homeless budget. Funded the homeless budget larger than any governor in history.
Okay.
He
Okay,
cut
thank you.
that
We want to talk
program.
about.
He
all right.
cut that
Mr.
program.
Mamdani, we have
Homelessness
aired this-
skyrocketed
Mr.
after doing
Mamdani,
It
we
did
have
not.
aired
It
this
was
issue.
14 years ago.
All right.
It was during the Bloomberg administration. And yes, okay.
Okay. I want to ask you about climate change. As New York City confronts the impact of climate change, one issue already on the desk of the next mayor is local.
I mean, I'll excuse Curtis if he has to say something that suggests that he really believes it's a problem. Because in a city like New York, they probably think you're crazy if you aren't worshiping at the altar of climate change and contributing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to crooked Democrats, because the whole thing's been a scam from day one. Or we could look at it this way. We don't have to spend anything on climate change. It just happens. You notice it's getting to be fall? Not so much here in Florida, but when we're up in New Hampshire, we noticed it. You don't have to work on climate change. God did it. Hmm? Spring. All right, spring. And then it changes. And it becomes summer. And then it changes again. Then it becomes fall. Then it changes again. It becomes winter. Then it changes. What are you going to do with it? Tell me exactly what the problem is with climate change. I don't know why they adopted. I remember global warming, but then it turns out it isn't. And we had the predictions, it was going to disappear at the millennium. It was going to disappear. I remember in 2010, 2015, we're going to burn. And then it turns out that the polar ice cap was melting for a while. Now it's not. I remember I knew they had to come up with a new one when Gore came to New York to pick up, some of the billions that he made by fleecing people on this. And it was snowing like hell. And he's talking about global warming. The Democrats are going to come up with some other kind of bullshit. But I cannot believe they came up with climate change. And it's the perfect communist thing. It doesn't mean anything. What does climate change mean? The climate changes. You mean we're going to have a week more of spring or a week more of winter, or we can't adjust to that? We've only been around for, I don't know how many million years. I don't know how many years. We've only been recording it for about 2,000 or 3,000, but
Right. So just on its face-
climate has been changing, I think, since God separated the land from the sky from the earth and created the seas.
Right.
If we were to put our emphasis on how to adapt to whatever changes are happening, it would be about 20% of what we're spending. And it would leave a lot more money for our children and also to take care of all these things they're talking about. Most of the squeeze now, like in New Jersey, the reason New Jersey is so strapped and they tax people like crazy is they have all these ridiculous green laws, none of which have a damn thing to do with public health. None of them. Well, the Voting Rights Act was in front of the Supreme Court yesterday, and it was a re-argument, really, of a case that was argued last year. Last year, basically, the question is: do they have to redistrict Louisiana to create another black district? I think there's only one. Population would suggest there should be only one when you look at the overall population. But somehow the argument is that given the distribution of blacks in different parts of the state, there should be two. The case has a complicated history. I think that the court overturned that, the lower court. And when it was originally argued, several of the justices said that none of this could be justified any longer under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Since you're making a tremendous exception from the constitutional principle of, colorblind justice, colorblind decisions. You shouldn't discriminate based on race. You are. You're discriminating based on race to cure, theoretically, the damage done by discriminating based on race. Now, there were people from the very beginning thought this was insane and unconstitutional, but it has been constitutional. And over the last 20 years, the Supreme Court has whittled away at it, narrowed it, and found in this particular case they were wrong. Or in this particular case, they were wrong. Here in the Louisiana case, as to whether or not, if you're going to do it, is it necessary? If you're going to use race, is it necessary to have a second district or not? the court's kind of split. I think originally they said yes, and then the other court said no. And I think the Supreme Court's going to say no based on the facts. Now, see if you can follow me on this. If you can, I'll give you my law degree, which I can't use anyway. And what the Supreme Court is now deciding is whether you can engage in this analysis at all anymore. In other words, can you go look at race and say, are things balanced? Or is that no longer necessary because the reasons for the Voting Rights Act of 1965 have long since passed away? Whether you could make it an exception to the Constitution because there had been racial discrimination in the past, that's gone, maybe for 30 years. So now we got to get back to the Constitution as it's written. So as you might imagine, there were, and I didn't listen to the whole argument, I listened to parts of it. The three liberals will vote, but they've had Justice Thomas on this for 30 years. They have Justice Alito. They have Gorsuch. No question they have Kavanaugh. He has some of the toughest questions. And I think they have Roberts. This is not the kind of case where Roberts folds. Justice Roberts, and I like Justice Roberts a lot and know him for a long time, but he tends to play to the Washington Peanut Gallery or Cocktail Circuit or Washington Post or the Bar Association that threw me out. Or, and let's give it a bigger picture. He wants his court to have a good reputation. It's where he's looking to reaffirm that reputation. That's the mistake. Who don't really have any regard for the Constitution, but generally he's solid as hell. Justice Barrett confuses the living daylights out of me. I don't get it. I don't get some of her decisions. She's sometimes conservative. She sometimes isn't. That's okay. If I see a consistency in it, what's the dividing line? Where's the divide? This case looks nice, feels nice. I don't think she's thinking Washington Post or any of that. In fact, I don't know what she's thinking. So I don't know which way she's going to go on that. And I'm going to try and see if I can get a transcript of the argument to see what questions she asked. But most of the solid interpreters who heard the whole argument, and this would be borne out by the parts that I've heard, say there are 5 solid votes, and this is going to go. We're not going to have a Voting Rights Act anymore. You know what it means? Probably means about 12 more seats for plus Republicans. It means that we have to have another Watergate to lose the House. Which means at least they can save America. Because about half, they think that if you actually did a redistricting without considering race, half the caucus would be gone.
The Democrat?
Well, they're all Democrats.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
They don't let a Republican. And if you're black, you can't be part of the. If you're black, even though you're black, if you're a Republican, you can't be part of the Black Caucus, which therefore should be named the Democrat Black Caucus, right?
That's a good point. There may even be some rules about that, right?
I don't know. I guess Democrats. It's a private. The party is a private. You can't. If it were the government, it would be unconstitutional, right? But they don't care about the Constitution. I gather it's over. The debate's over. Is that correct?
So it appears they've moved on to yes, 9:05. So the debate has wrapped up, Mayor.
So let's take a short break and see if Dr. Maria can join us.
And we'll come back and see if Dr. Maria wants to give us a full recap of tonight's
Okay.
debate.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live and our prime guest, number one contributor, who also helps Ted and I.
Watch that debate, choke me.
Move it closer. You remember the microphone?
Yes.
I'm using yours here.
Oh.
You're using the one.
I'm using the tall one.
Yeah.
So, yes, the debate tonight, Sliwa, the Republican candidate, Democrat Socialist Mamdani, and the independent.
You know, I love that you have trouble with his name and you don't even do it on purpose. I do it on purpose.
Oh.
Manduba ma ma ma.
What? How do you say it?
Manduba ba.
Oh, Manduba.
Manduba ba ba ba.
You know, I have to say,
Mandani. It's a D-A. It's a. I noted
Mamdani.
A lot of people say Mandami. They think there's an M. It's an N.
Yes, it's an N. Mandani.
Zoran.
Zoran.
And he's the first Muslim.
Do you know that Curtis mispronounced his first name and he had corrected him, but Curtis sincerely said, I apologize. Nobody really wants to say somebody's name wrong. I think he said
Zoltan?
He's mispronounced the first name somehow. I don't know.
I only ask because sometimes they get on us for mispronunciations when it's not that far off.
Yeah, it wasn't that far. I didn't feel like it was that far off.
Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala.
Yeah, how do you know if you don't know, right?
Yeah. Definitely not racist.
I don't remember which is it, Kamala or Kamala? Kamala.
I think she like Pamela. Kamala. Yeah.
That's the thing, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
But Jamie Raskin.
Pamela, Kamala. Pamela,
Kamala. It's Kamala. I think I remember them correctly.
It's not like Pamela, Kamala.
Now I don't know. Now I'm more confused than ever. I don't know.
You know, his name is easier phonetically because it comes out. A lot of them don't follow our phonetics, but Zoltran, Z-O-L-T-R-A-N, Zoltran, Man, M-A-M.
Is it Zoltran? No.
It's Zoran.
Yeah, Zoran. You're really all right.
Curtis.
People are going to think I've had alcohol. I've not had anything to drink. I don't smoke marijuana. I'm totally against it.
No, he's not.
But I'm getting silly now. So, anyways, it's the debate of the 3 New York City mayoral candidates: Cuomo, the independent, Mamdani, the Democrat socialist, and the Republican Curtis Sliwa. So I reported on your other show when they first started out, it was like this back and forth, and it seemed like the Cuomo Mamdani show. And I did feel bad for Curtis. I felt Curtis's answers, if I want to be totally honest, were the most sincere, with integrity, and he had plans. He absolutely knows more about the city than anybody. When talking about affordable apartments, of course, Mamdani came under attack because he's in a rent, excuse me, he's in a rent-controlled apartment that should go to somebody who needs that. He's from millionaire parents that support him. But
Did they hit him on that?
yes, Cuomo hit him on that, but he doesn't care. He just smiles and says, see, this is your answer. If you want a man who would evict me and my wife, vote for him. If you want somebody who wants to make affordable housing for all of us, vote for me. So he just doesn't, he's not sincere. But when talking about the affordability in the housing crisis, the 2 candidates didn't know this. Only Curtis Sliwa knew it, that there were 6,000 vacant apartments. I don't know New York, so I'm not sure where they are, but he knew that.
Of course.
And he knew about some other things. I find him very knowledgeable. I think the moderators overall try to hold all of them accountable, whether past or present. Mamdani said he apologized to the New York Police Department for calling them racist, anti-queer. He says that was 2020. I was mad about George Floyd. George Floyd overdosed. He was not killed. That's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. But if you're mad about something that happened somewhere else, you were an assemblyman person in New York.
Yeah.
So you're just going to spout off irrationally? But I don't know. I found,
So here's what
Yes.
when he brought that up, I would have said, these mistakes by a mayoral candidate can cost lives. For example, the last socialist mayor, de Blasio, the New York City Police Department feels cost the lives of 2 police officers because when a racial incident happened in Philadelphia or Baltimore, he said New York Police Department is just as racist. Based on nothing.
De Blasio said that?
Yeah, a week later, a guy from Baltimore came up to New York and assassinated 2 police officers.
Wow.
And to this day, there's nobody in the New York City Police Department that doesn't hold de Blasio responsible for it.
Well, de Blasio came up actually because Mamdani talked about a plan for homelessness and for people. The mental health crisis is really out of control everywhere in our country. So it is a nationwide problem. But he talked about having social workers and mental health workers out and about dealing with those type things. And Curtis said, we had that program. And guess who got rid of it? De Blasio. And apparently Mamdani has made the comment.
I had that program.
Yeah, that de Blasio was his favorite and the one he looks up to the most, which you ask any New Yorker. I was in New York off and on for 4 years with a radio station with you, a radio show with you. I got to know the people of New York. Being outside of New York, I thought they were all crazy. Being there, they're very reasonable, good people, like you'd find anywhere. The problem with New Yorkers, they don't come out to vote.
Yeah.
And the rank choice method in the primaries is set up for only Democrats to win. It is a total scam.
They're beaten down. 170 years of crooked Democrat governments, except for maybe
they got to stand up, though.
Except maybe for a few years exceptions. They've built in institutions that only communist countries would have.
Yeah.
Like the one that I keep talking about, the way judges are appointed.
Yeah.
I mean, our Supreme Court bench in the 4 Democrat boroughs is completely political.
Yeah.
It's not a court. It's a political clubhouse.
Well, you could tell the Telemundo moderator was a real lefty because the way she would phrase her questions about how are you going to stand up to Trump Why do you got to stand up to Trump?
Don't you have to
Trump
work with him?
offering National Guard is like to help your city. But that's when Curtis really praised Hochul. And I suppose there's good and bad in all of us, right? I think Hochul is a terrible governor for your former state. I really don't have any respect for her, but apparently when Curtis said we really needed help in the subways, she did send the National Guard it did help. So I did respect that too of Curtis, that you could recognize when someone has made a good decision and give them credit for it.
Well, you know, that whole thing that they were arguing about whether to send police officers and social workers, I started that.
Yeah.
And I started that, and it was, and Curtis made a little bit of a mistake. Curtis sort of, when Cuomo was explaining it, he said, you know, the police officers will get there first, and they were confusing violent situations.
Yeah, the
and
domestic violence. Yeah.
Although a homeless situation can get violent.
Sure.
A lot of them are violent.
Yeah.
And
especially if they're violent schizophrenics. I've had to deal with them.
Easily 40%,
Yep.
which is a very, very generous conservative number.
Yeah.
Are mentally ill.
Yeah.
And mentally ill with tendencies toward violence.
Yeah.
Like paranoid schizophrenics.
Right.
Who, the more isolated they are, the more violent they get. So I started the program when we were doing deliberate arrests. In other words, to get people off the street.
Yes.
The police would bring the
Which
social.
is humane, by the way.
What?
Which is very humane. Sorry, I have a terrible cold.
I'd bring the
It gets
social
worse
workers.
at night.
I'd bring the social workers with the police, because the police just can't arrest you for laying on the street. They can make you move. They can tell you can't sleep here. They can even take your stuff away from you if you keep doing it. But they can't arrest you. It's not illegal.
So
It's
you
not,
know what my city does, though, in the winter?
but let me finish what I
I'm
did.
sorry,
Because
yeah.
what I did was I would bring a social worker, and the social worker would talk them into how much better it would be if they went into the, and then we take their stuff away. And they said, where am I going to sleep? Well, you're going to have to leave the city, or you're going to have to come with us. 90% came with us.
And where would you put them?
We brought, there's plenty of room for them. Did they bring out the fact that there are at least 6,000 beds for mentally ill people that are empty?
Yes.
Did they bring that out?
I believe Curtis brought that out.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, it would take a month to fix it up.
Yeah.
When they were arguing way back, De Blasio and Cuomo, who hated each other, when they were arguing about they didn't have housing for people with COVID or places to put them.
Yeah.
I said, you got 6,000 beds at the Goldberg Mental Institution that are empty.
Yeah.
And it's a nice place.
Yeah.
And we
And
got
I
four
think at
others
the
like
time they had the ship too.
Well,
They didn't use that. They didn't really
The
use
ship-
the Javas Center.
the ship they didn't use, and this is what's wrong with Cuomo, because they didn't want to make
Ego.
Trump. No,
Yeah. No, it's
Cuomo-
ego. He wanted
Cuomo
to.
asked for the ship.
Yeah.
Then he got a call.
Yeah.
From the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
From Biden.
Yeah.
They said, don't make him look good.
Yeah. Well,
rid-
maybe I'm
get rid of that
mischaracterizing ego.
Get
That
rid-
he
get rid
didn't
of that
want
damn
Trump
ship.
to get the
I don't-
credit.
I don't want this guy to look like he's saving New York. What are you, crazy? And if you recall,
But what would you do? You would help the people.
yeah, I wrote an op-ed piece at the time congratulating Cuomo and Newsom for working with Trump.
Yeah.
And within 3 days,
They got in
stopped
trouble.
working for him.
Yeah.
Biden saw that up.
And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't say that I caused it, but I have no doubt. I know for sure that Cuomo was told to. I don't know about Newsom, but Cuomo cut it out. Stop praising him. Cuomo was trying to do what a reasonable governor does. I was a Republican mayor. Clinton was a Democratic governor. When I was running, it's just different. It tells you how biased the press is. I was asked, what would I do to cooperate with Clinton?
Yeah.
Not what would I do to challenge him?
Yeah,
what
yeah,
would I
yeah.
do to cooperate with him?
Yeah, exactly. Which we should all do, right? Cooperate with
But
each other.
he's the president of the United States.
Who's got a lot of resources.
I fought him when I had to. I beat him in a case over cheating us out of money for childcare, and because he line item vetoed.
Yeah. Which you can't do anymore.
Well, because of my case,
Yeah.
my case in Moynihan.
Yeah.
Moynihan and I put up the fund, and we challenged it, and we won in the Supreme Court. And I was always kind of in favor of I am in favor of the line item veto,
I am too.
except
I
it's-
wish we'd get that back.
except it's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
It no doubt violates the Constitution. And Senator Moynihan came to me knowing that I would understand that. Or maybe I had given a speech about it. And he said, you can get your 250 million back. I said, how, Senator? Bring the case against him. And I did.
Oh, wow.
And
Moynihan was a Democrat.
but Moynihan worked for Nixon.
Yeah.
Moynihan was a Democrat. Half the time he was fighting with his party.
Yeah.
Now he would be a Republican.
Oh, yeah.
Moynihan
immediately.
would be fed him in on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
So
he was a genius.
the funniest parts of the debate is when Curtis was saying everything that Cuomo did wrong and the no cash bail and all this. And your father, I knew Mario Cuomo and he would have never done that. But sir, you're no Mario Cuomo.
Oh.
You're Andrew Cuomo.
That was a little bit silly.
Yeah, it was a little bit silly, but it was funny to me. It was funny.
I just don't think you attack somebody's dad.
No, he was praising the dad.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Use the dad against.
Yeah. He was praising the dad.
Well,
So thank you.
who won the debate?
I know people are going to think I'm biased just because he's Republican, but I just think Curtis Sliwa was the one with the most integrity, honesty. Like, I really loved it when they asked about, being mayor and everything. And of course, Mamdani and Cuomo, they're going to do everything right. Curtis had enough guts to say, I don't know everything, but I'm going to hire the best people around me and experts around me. And I really feel out of all the candidates, Curtis is there for the people.
He didn't say what he said to me. Well, I'll know what to do about being mayor because I'll call you. He didn't say that, did he?
No, not that I heard. But there's going to be a second debate coming up. So, all righty.
All right. And thank you, Doctor.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Dr.
You remember
You're very welcome,
yesterday?
Teddy.
Remember yesterday, Dr. Maria was under the weather. I did a show for her.
Thank
Look how-
God. I had
look how she
terrible
recovered.
fever.
And now look, 100%.
I had terrible fever. I was like hallucinating. My fever was so bad. And thank you so much for doing my show. I really appreciate it.
I just hope I didn't scare away all your listeners.
I doubt it.
That was
Good
great. She
night,
came in,
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Last minute to be our debate
Yes, yeah,
correspondent. I mean, that's a commitment. That's 2 hours of watching that. man
Yeah,
guy.
I know.
Like that's hazard pay right there. Well, maybe we'll.
Let's try to give Tony Carbonetti a call and see if he listened to it. He may have gotten messed up with all the going back and forth, and see if we can get a.
Yeah, let's see if we can.
I'll see if I can get him on the phone, and then I'll put him on. Tony was my chief of staff. I would say Tony is one of the 5 or 6 most knowledgeable people on New York politics.
So you're watching live. The mayor is making a call.
I'm making a call.
It's not the first time we've done this on the show.
No, however,
We have
Tony, would you like to tell my audience who won the debate? Well, you didn't see the debate. What kind of a New York expert are you?
We're live on the air.
Pardon me?
He's not, but
You got to go to a dinner?
well, he's
Okay, and we'll put you on tomorrow. All right. All right. Have a good rest. Bye bye.
who's he having dinner with?
He's in Washington.
Oh, if he's in Washington, I mean that could be any number of people.
Who knows what he's doing?
But
What
you
he's
can
doing-
always use the. I
What
mean,
he's doing is supporting his wonderful family. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
Which-
someone like you, Mayor, and you cannot tell a lie, so you'd never do it. But you could always use the excuse. Sorry, the president's on the phone, right? Or the president needs me, right? And nobody can argue with that, right?
Right,
Nobody can argue. The president's on the line,
Of course, he used to have a lot when I was his lawyer.
and you really were. You really did need to go.
Now, did we let this audience know about the unbelievable scoundrel who's running for governor of New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill?
Not the latest. The new story.
The
today.
other one we did that on the other
Yes,
show.
yes.
So
This
the
is
new-
important.
So there are 2 things you got to know. The news story thing. Number 1, she's lying. And I can say that without any problem because she contradicts herself. The proof that she's lying is her. The first time this came out, what I'm talking about is she did not graduate with her class from the Naval Academy, and it was the year of the big scandal. An exam was published. I don't know if it was published generally or a large number of students got it, but a large number of students did get it. Some had the honor to report it and turn it in. Many, but many didn't. In fact, the final numbers were something like 88 students were found guilty. 24 were expelled, and then the rest were given various penalties. I guess I don't know the distinctions, but that's a lot of cadets, 88 to cheat, right? Now, she was in that class. She did not graduate with her class. This is all we know because she won't release the records. What we do know is she didn't graduate with a class. That's all we knew when we found it out 2-3 weeks ago, even though she ran for Congress several times and never told anybody about this.
Right. That's which.
And because she's a damn sneaky,
A snake.
slimy politician.
A slimy politician.
A
Right.
slimy politician who hides behind being a naval officer. She never should have been a naval officer.
Absurd.
She's an embarrassment to the United States Navy when you hear this. So, when it came out, last month, she admitted that she wasn't allowed to graduate with her class on May 25, 1994. And the reason that she gave is the following. I'm quoting her now. I didn't turn in some of my classmates, so I didn't walk. But at the time she refused to release her sealed academy disciplinary records that would confirm or falsify her account. The minute they won't release it, you know immediately. I mean, we're not talking about her medical records. We're not talking about, she doesn't have to release the names of anybody else. All she has to do is release the report that was done by the Naval Academy on her and what she was found guilty of or not guilty of, or they obviously have, they came to a conclusion, the Naval Academy did, that unlike some of the others, she wasn't allowed to graduate with her class. She tells us the reason for that is she wouldn't rat people out. Now, she went on to elaborate on that, staying with that version of the story. A day or two later at a campaign event, she said, I knew people who were implicated in the cheating, but I didn't come forward with that information, which was apparently a violation of the Academy Honor Code. Well, it isn't apparently, it obviously is. It obviously is because, I mean, isn't one of the big words honor? And who are you loyal to? The cheaters? Or the fact that we have to have offices of the highest integrity for the good of the United States? Sounds to me like if you're not going to rat people out, like you're the mafia, you want to call it rat people out? You want all these scumbags who cheat to be naval officers? Well, you must be one of them. I mean, I know a lot of people get all, I just dealt with too many people that I got to rat. There's no honor in protecting cheats and murderers and scoundrels like the mafia. There's no honor in protecting a bunch of kids who maybe should do something else for a living than serve us in the Navy. I mean, if they're going to do that in the academy, what the hell are they going to do in the military? We're going to rely on these cheats and liars? Of course not. And if you cared about if you had the right code of ethics, you turn them in. But she wanted to look like, she figures New Jersey, she doesn't even come from New Jersey, by the way. She comes from a very upper class family.
Hoity-toity Virginia family.
Yeah.
Hey, but whoever gave her that idea to say I wasn't a rat.
Yeah, but wait, it didn't last long because she's a liar. Liars don't last long.
Right.
But she shifted her account after last week's debate with Jack Ciattarelli, the GOP candidate, who, by the way, kicked the shit out of her. And I think the polling showed it. And they probably didn't like her answer on this. So what do you do if you're a Democrat if they don't like your answer? If you're Mamdani, or what do? You change your answer, right? You don't tell the truth. The truth. Gosh, Democrats got rid of the truth somewhere in the last century. I mean, since Boss Tweed, they haven't been operating with the truth. Now, here's the new quote, and I think tomorrow we're going to put them up on the board, and you can compare them, because this is what I would do if I was prosecuting her for perjury. I'd convict her out of her own mouth. There were hundreds of people in my class that spoke to investigators. When I did, I told them what I knew.
Repeat that?
Can I remember? What did she say? I didn't come forward with that information.
Yes.
That's the first version.
Yes.
Second version. There were hundreds of people in my class that spoke to investigators. When I did, I told them what I knew. I didn't come forward with that information. I told them what I knew.
Wow. That's a 180 from what she's claiming.
She assured reporters, huh? She did rat.
When did she say? Did she say that in an interview or?
She said it at a press conference.
Wow. So she's lying. And she's now demonstrated to us all that we knew that.
You and I do not have to say alleged or anything like that.
Right.
Unless she's misquoted. And no one says, unless she's misquoted, the second statement contradicts the first statement 100%. The first statement says, I didn't come forward. Second statement says, I told them everything I knew.
So that's 100. Those are two mutually exclusive.
Maybe she hasn't changed since she was in the academy and cheated. So now there's a new fact that comes out that really starts, I think, to give you the answer.
Sure.
She was kept at the academy for 254 days, nearly 9 months after graduation. She says that they were having trouble finding the right flight, something or other for her.
What?
9 months to find her a plane?
The United States Navy can't find the U.S. Navy, one of the most logistically advanced organizations on the face of the planet.
Her campaign claims that she was just waiting for a flight school slot to open up.
A flight school
and they keep you
slot.
at the academy? Don't
9 months?
Don't they send you to a ship or something for a while? They don't keep you at the academy. So, of course, this is the Post, so they do a little honest reporting, and they talk to other academy graduates, one of whom we're going to try to get for tomorrow night.
Okay.
As I said, her campaign claims that she was just waiting for a flight school to open, but other academy graduates suggest it sounds more like she was obliged to do an honor remediation to graduate because of her role in the cheating affair, whatever that was. How do we find out what it was? How do we find out if there's all a misunderstanding, which obviously it isn't, or it's extremely serious? We get the records. I don't know why she controls the records. Right. How can she tell us that we can't see her records in a public institution? The Naval Academy is a public, it belongs to her, to us, not her.
Right.
This isn't, as I said, a medical record. And I don't know if we're dealing with a public official who shouldn't get to see a relevant medical record, but that it isn't. Exactly what principle of privacy are we observing in not? Why can't Pete Hegseth just say, here are the records?
Well, that was my question to you, Mayor.
I don't know why the Navy just can't release the records. Here they are.
Yeah, like you said, they are not hers to keep. This is not a private school where money from her where she paid for everything.
You know how I learned this lesson? I think I was about 28 years old, and my boss was in this dispute with Mario Biaggi, United States Congressman who was running for mayor, and he was leading. Right. And during it, another congressman who hated him leaked that he had taken the Fifth Amendment 48 times in the grand jury on a scandal involving him getting bribes for private immigration bills. He said, I never took the Fifth Amendment. We talk a little bit. I never took the Fifth Amendment. Never. You got my word for that.
Yeah.
The United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Woody Note Seymour Jr., who was a man of impeccable honor, almost to the point of, he decides to go to court and get an order from the judge releasing a grand jury testimony.
Yeah. What?
Now, he really didn't have to release it because what does Biaggi do? He comes in and opposes it. Of course, if he hadn't taken the Fifth Amendment, he wouldn't oppose it. Well, what the hell is she opposing putting her records out if it?
She claims that she can explain the whole thing, right? I wasn't a rat. I didn't want to rat on my peers.
But now she's got to put them out. She's got two different explanations.
She's trying to put herself in a pit.
But I don't understand why she gets to keep these secret.
That's what we have to figure out.
I have no idea why
Can Pete Hegseth step in, or
the head of the Navy should step in and say, for the honor of the Navy, let's get this resolved.
Right.
This was a horrible scandal, a terrible blot on the Academy. 88 of them.
Do you remember this happening at the time?
I do remember. I mean, I don't remember in detail, but I remember.
Vaguely remember seeing
because
it.
It was so damn shocking. I spent a lot of time at West Point when I was U.S. Attorney. It was in my district.
Right.
I taught some classes there.
Right.
I went to the football game every year. I go to seminars there, and I prosecuted people there.
Yeah.
And this would have shocked me if it happened at West Point.
Mm.
They'd have thrown him over.
Oh.
I can imagine the commandant.
Right. It's
here's the thing that's really amazing. Like, we love the military, love the police. That doesn't mean they're all saints. It also doesn't mean that some of them are very crooked. Sorry. It's human nature. And all of these professions have some of the greatest people and some of the biggest scoundrels. So in some ways, the military record should get great credit, but it doesn't mean it can't be examined. Because it could be, look, I mean, I am absolutely convinced, but these are all allegations. This is, she definitely lied. I'm convinced that Kerry in no way got four medals for being wounded. Yeah. And they kept him in Vietnam. He was wounded 4 times. And nothing ever happened to him. He never went to a hospital. He gets the Purple Heart 4 times. And he goes to Vietnam, and he brings with him a camcorder when nobody even knew what a camcorder was. And he's taking pictures of himself. And he's taking pictures of himself. No, the way he looks, And you remember the scandal when oh gosh, those poor people who came forward with the Swift boat scandal.
Yep.
Oh, they were terrible. They were awful. Yep. No, they weren't. They were the ones who didn't lie. But now this isn't her against somebody telling a different version. This is her against her. One of these two stories is true, or something in the middle is true. You want my guess? My guess is she was caught cheating, and they didn't let her graduate. And she had to go through these 254 days of what they euphemistically call honor remediation as punishment. And then they decided, okay, that's enough, and we'll let her. And I think they did it as a practical matter because they were going to lose 88 people, and they want to lose 88 people. I think they made a mistake. I think the wonderful Naval Academy made a terrible mistake. None of these people should have ever been allowed to be officers of the United States Navy, ever. If it turns out that she was caught cheating and they made her an officer of the United States Navy, that's a blot on the Navy, not just her. And she's a definitely a part of the Navy, just from the 2 stories she's told. Also, you should know her 2 kids just got into the Naval Academy,
which is
from a
something.
school that has never gotten anybody in the Naval Academy. So does she have some kind of in because she was a congressman? Her husband graduated from the Naval Academy, and he has some issue. I don't know what it is, but we'll leave her husband alone.
Right.
Unless it's like Pelosi's husband,
We don't have to.
who picked up $400 million last year for her.
Right.
Oh, she also isn't she the one who made $7 million? She doesn't know how.
Has not explained it. That's the next question we got to have Allison ask.
She picked up $7 million last year, and she doesn't know how she did it. If we keep asking her, we'll probably get 3 other versions.
Exactly.
And you want her as a governor in New Jersey, really? Okay, she's not a communist, but is that the rule now? So, have they stopped? Has Hamas stopped killing people? Or meaning, have they demilitarized or haven't they? I don't know. As of yesterday, they hadn't, or as of this morning, they hadn't. I don't know about the rest of the day. Do you know?
No. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. The question is Hamas still slaughtering Palestinians?
Our understanding is yes, they have and by the way, it does appear that the Americans and Israelis are aware of this, and to a degree are allowing this to take place. Hamas is saying they are that this is necessary to restore order and
Well, why should
peace.
Hamas be restoring order? They're not going to have anything to do with the government.
That's what I don't get.
The 20 points say that under no circumstances will Hamas ever have anything to do with the government,
Right.
whatever is put into place in Gaza. Now they're running Gaza. If they're killing people with guns, they're running it.
Yes. Yes.
And they also promised to demilitarize. The opposite of demilitarizing is getting a gun.
Yep.
So it sounds like bullshit.
It sounds like bullshit. They claim this has to be done. They're the people in the compliant media it's funny.
Well, it
All of a
has to
sudden
be
they're
done.
justifying it.
They're killing at least 2 different types of people that I can make out.
Yes.
They are killing probably other terrorist competing organizations.
Yes.
They're also killing the people who demonstrated against them. The few Palestinians who can overcome being trained forever to kill people and are against them. So they're killing innocent people.
But the sick media, right, Mayor? They're up in arms whenever Israel kills a Palestinian. They're up in arms about it, no matter what. It's a terrible thing. Now you have Hamas killing Palestinians, and the media seems to be justifying it, saying, "Well, this is part of what Hamas needs to do to restore order." It's just the little word, right? They use these words when they talk about it, right? They're almost justifying it.
The agreement does not allow Hamas to restore order. It allows Hamas to disband. They have to disband. They have to lay down their arms, reject Hamas. Otherwise, they get thrown out.
What we're hearing is that Hamas is reasserting its power in Gaza.
Okay, well, that's just the opposite of the agreement. Hamas is supposed to have nothing to do with Gaza.
Experts say Hamas is attempting to reassert its authority, but members of 3 anti-Hamas militias told Sky News that Hamas has no intention of laying down its arms. Public executions, arson attacks, and gun battles.
2 of them said it. 2 of them said we're not laying down our arms.
Right. So public executions, arson attacks, and gun battles have raised a specter of a slide into civil chaos as Hamas battles armed groups it accuses of collaborating with Israel. So the President Trump, of course, came out yesterday. We reported on this and made it very clear that if Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Hamas says that they were, but we're taking out the Majed Dagmosh clan. This is a clan, a family within.
Now who knows
Gaza.
if they are terrorists or opponents of Hamas? there are opponents of Hamas in Gaza, and I'm going to guess that's who they're focusing on.
Hamas started entering hospitals, homes, other places, telling folks that they were searching for collaborators. So
Well, then
Hamas is
collaborators and then people who were working with Israel.
Wouldn't that be
with
anybody
us.
part of the peace? People that were, I mean,
Well, I mean, no.
Hamas is the.
You don't. It's real simple.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have guns. Demilitarizing means no guns,
But we all, as
and they
we-
should all be arrested immediately. There's an organization noted for Students for Justice in Palestine, and they are now and they are associated with Mamdani. He's met with them. His own group has invited them when he was at Bodwayne College. They've also worked with his SDS group. And when he was there, when Mamdani was either the head of it or there at Bodwayne, the group invited radical professor Assad Abu Khalil, who called Israel a bigger terrorism threat than Hamas. And here's where I'm going to, this guy, I'm going to have a hard time meeting this guy. And claimed the U.S. brought the September 11 attacks on itself. And he brought him to speak on campus.
Unacceptable.
I mean, the guy has been, he's a Jew hater and he's an American hater. And he's an associate of radical Islamic terrorists who advocate murder. This is a candidate for mayor of the greatest city in the world, or once the greatest city in the world. This is Students for Justice in Palestine, which supports Mamdani for mayor.
Right.
Okay.
But just going back to the mayor's race, of course, we had the first debate tonight. Mayor, we keep hearing from people, I like Curtis Sliwa, but he can't win. And sure, we're getting down to the wire here. But if every single person that we've heard say that actually supported Curtis, went out, talked to their fellow New Yorkers, engaged with fellow New Yorkers to win them over, wouldn't he at least have a shot? With low voter turnout, right? What you need to do is mobilize new voters. Mamdani hasn't shown us that he's
so I'm going to try.
I'm
going to try if I can tonight and partially tomorrow. I'm going to see if I'll just watch it.
Watch the debate, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll give you my opinion if I think it could turn votes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Dr. Maria is right from just a little bit that I saw, and you know, one of the things my mentors used to do, and both of them. Ailes and David Garth, they would often show me the debate afterwards with no sound. They said a lot of how you win a debate is what you look like. Are you charming? Are you nice? Do they like you? Do they like you in your living room? Particularly if they're going to put you in an executive office. Likability is much more important for an executive office than it is for a legislative office. You don't think of a legislator as your father, as your father figure. Right. You do think of a mayor, a governor, or a president that way.
That's a very good point.
It's very different. It's a very different position that you're running for.
Especially mayor of New York, if I might add.
Yeah.
You're the mayor of the city.
So in a way, I said at the beginning, Mamdani has to cool people down who are going crazy over him being a communist, or just cool him down a little. And he's got to sound. He should get away from his positions and minimize them and just basically be a bullshit artist. Cuomo doesn't really have to prove he can govern. We know he can govern. In fact, maybe wrong, but he can govern. I mean, he'll understand the budget. He'll understand how the city government works.
Right.
He's got to overcome, first of all, the barrier of the old people.
Yep.
that were killed in the nursing homes, because many people believe he was responsible for it. And number two, the sex scandal, which I always thought was a little bit exaggerated to get him out. They were trying to do him a favor in a way, get him out over that rather than the other thing he can go to jail for. And also they wanted him out. You have to understand that Andrew is not well liked within the Democrat Party, partially because of his father. I'm going to get into the Cuomo family secrets. That's okay. They're a public family. Long time ago, I was told by several of their family friends who were upset about this, that Mario didn't do Andrew any favors by bringing him into politics so young.
Right.
And making him the tough guy.
Makes sense.
Mario was a bit indecisive. And Mario was smart as hell. For a Democrat, really, I say for a Democrat, honest, maybe honest thoroughly. But he was extremely indecisive to a fault. And he wasn't really tough. Andrew was from the very beginning. As a 16-year-old, Andrew was out there doing his campaigns, and many of, I shouldn't say many, a few people that were his friends that I got to know said that as Mario got older, he even understood he pushed Andrew too far, got him involved too early, and so Andrew's got a lot of skeletons. He got a lot of people that he banged around, and it's funny. In my case, I was the tough guy, and Peter Powers would smooth it over.
You were the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, I was the bad cop.
I never had Mayor Giuliani. Nah,
I never had a problem with it. If it's for the government, I mean, if you got to be fired, you got to be fired.
I have a feeling people loved working for you as mayor.
Yeah,
I feel like you let people go out and do it.
But if I had to fire somebody, I'd fire them.
Of course.
I mean, it wasn't my business. If it was my business, there were times in which I probably would have kept somebody.
I was just gonna say you respected the role, the position too much, even if you wanted to err on the side of not firing somebody. You did it in that.
On the other hand, if I thought somebody was falsely accused or it was exaggerated,
you stood up.
I would exaggerate standing up for them. I gave a guy who was found to have acted unethically, who didn't, and they fined him $27,000. I gave him a $10,000 raise, so over 2 years he could pay it. They wanted me, at the Times wanted me to fire him. I said, "The hell with you! I'm not going to fire him." In fact, he's one of the best commissioners I have. Look what he's done with welfare. Right. And that's why you hate him, because he's making people on welfare work. Since when did that become a crime? So I can read the report. I can read the report from the. In fact, the three of the people who wrote this report used to work for me. So I disagree with them.
That's what you call a.
That's the
kind of guy you want to work for, right here. I'm biased.
So I got elected. They didn't. So it's like Lincoln. So the cabinet's sitting there, and they all vote against something, 12-0. And Lincoln says, "We're going to do it." Yep, good. I'm glad we had that vote. Now let's go ahead and do it. What? He said, "Oh, did you think it was a democracy? I didn't have you. I just wanted your opinions. You don't get to vote. I mean, you think you voted when you told me you're against it? Well, you did is advise me. You're wrong. I'm right. I'm the president. That's what we're going to do." That's a president.
Right.
Who can do something that who knows if any other president could have done, free the slaves.
Well,
and ultimately keep the Union together.
Yeah, it was the United States of America and white men from the North who took a stand against slavery, who put everything on the line to end it.
And white men
Americans
from different parts of America,
yes,
for 200 years were anti-slavery.
Right.
I mean, the first settlers in the Massachusetts Bay Colony were dead set against slavery.
Right. And
religiously.
Yes. And so these
they didn't understand it.
Right.
So it was never a comfortably accepted position, and its contradiction with the religion that was the predominant religion, Christianity, was apparent. And then Thomas Jefferson made it apparent that it was It was completely inconsistent with the principles of the United States. And he did it on purpose. And why he doesn't get credit for that, I have no idea. I mean, if Thomas Jefferson had come out to free the slaves when he was 27 years old, which was a chance he was going to do it, we never would have had the Declaration of Independence. We might not, who knows if we would have Louisiana. The United States Marines might not exist. We wouldn't have won the second war after the Revolutionary War to show we were a power, and that's the Barbary pirates.
Yep.
We were just a little shit-ass country, and they were taking our ships, and he said, "You're not going to take our ships."
Right.
He was a guy that was against foreign wars. He was thought of as an isolationist, and he went over there, and that's why you have from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Okay, and then he set up in the Navy a amphibious landing force that went over there and shocked the hell out of them, because the Barbary pirates were like all those Muslims; they can't shoot straight.
Right.
I mean, the guns go back this way, and Muhammad made them warriors. Just how good, we'll see. I mean, they seem to have a real problem with Israel.
Yep.
I mean, what was the 7-day war?
Right.
They had every Arab country in the world was fighting Israel, and they took over the entire desert. Do you know from that time on, I was opposed to Israel giving that back? I said, "Hey, wait a second. This is not fair." I was a kid. They won it. They won it fair and square.
Right.
You invaded them. They kicked you out, and they kicked you back.
Yeah. Yep.
Now it's mine. Now you have to know, in the declaration establishing Palestine, that was given to them. So they took back what was given to them that they ceded in 49 in order to settle the original war. But they never conceded that was not part of the state of Israel.
Yep.
Well, I think we got everything that we need to.
Busy night.
Everything that we needed to do. I do think that we should point out that even though the president has done a good job of straightening out Washington and the policing there, they still have judge problems there. The two people, the male and female, who beat up. Remember Edward Big Balls Corstein?
Yep.
The Doge guy. These people jumped on him, and 10 people jumped on him and beat the living crap out of him, left with a broken nose. A female companion was involved in it. So two of them, the guy who led it and the woman, were convicted, or they pleaded guilty. Judge Kendra D. Briggs gave one of them probation, the boy. And the girl was given a 9-month probation and remanded to a local youth shelter. Don't know what that means. I guess the shelter is not a prison. Exactly what it is, I don't know. It's because she's on probation. So they didn't go to jail, let's put it that way. And they beat this guy mercilessly, only because he was a Republican. But that's okay in D.C., because I want to find out about Judge Kendra D. Briggs, and was she part of the persecution of the J6 people? Because that court is an abomination.
Right.
We
were in that court.
That court is an abomination to American justice.
This is the one in
D.C.
that we had to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, the way the New York Supreme Court, Manhattan, is crooked. This one is politically warped.
That was
warped. They're warped, and they're worse. They're worse in a way. They're like something that you would have seen in the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany.
You don't get my eyes going there.
Nothing like it. It's nothing like a trial.
And it made me sad, Mayor. I will say, going through that with you, because I grew up thinking
By the time I went through it, I had heard enough from Cora and the people dealing with the J6 trials to know that these people were people weren't Americans.
Un-American. That's a great word. And, you know, I come from Michigan.
And
My
that wo-
dad's a
and that wo-
judge. And
that
just-
woman that we had,
Judge, yeah,
Judge Bloodthirsty.
absurd. Inappropriate. That's not, just not how a judge is supposed to conduct themselves.
So now you kind of get rewarded for beating up a Trump person.
That's exactly what that's telling us.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a little more on it takes a day to synthesize what everybody thinks and how it's going to be spun. And remember, spinning it is important because a lot of people don't see it.
Yep.
Many more people will have a conclusion about this debate based on what they're told about it.
Right.
And unfortunately, they're probably not going to be told the truth. That's why it's important to listen to us and our colleagues. But I mean, I know I can give you the truth about it. I take it seriously.
Of course.
And see if we can eke out some kind of chance to save the city that I still love very much and feel very sorry for it, but don't quite understand. I don't understand the people. I don't understand how he's even standing there. It's like a joke. It's like Saturday Night Live on steroids.
Right.
So let's pray that we really do have peace in Israel, huh? Let's pray for those people because there are a lot of good signs and there are some bad signs, right?
Right.
Tomorrow, and we should have talked a little more about this, tomorrow is going to be a meeting, an important one, between the president and Zelensky. The president has had a long conversation with Putin. A lot has happened negative to Russia as far as their economy is concerned. Just a mere banging around of India is pretty devastating for Russia. I mean, you'd end the whole thing if China pulled the plug on it. If China said, I'm not buying your oil either. It'd be over the next day. And it's not necessarily against China's interest to do that, by the way. This Russian escapade has not helped China. It's lost China allies that they were seeking to get. It lost them Germany, like Russia. Now, Russia has made themselves, you see that the European Commission is the executive branch of the European Union. They came out with a 4-point defense plan. Europe has never done this before. You've got to credit this to our president, who they all said was going to destroy NATO. He's made NATO stronger than it's ever been. Yep. He's actually made NATO real. It hasn't been real since the 1950s. And now what they're going to do to complement NATO, in addition to the 5% of GDP that they're going to contribute to NATO, Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Commission, had a big meeting, and they came up with a 4-point program. The four-point program is, over the next 3 or 4 years, the European Commission, the executive branch of the European Union, is going to do, has a schedule and 4 initiatives and priorities. The first, the European Drone Defense Program. They are going to attempt to do an Iron Dome, Reagan defense against missiles, against drones, with the technology that detects drones and the technology that can interfere with the drones. And they are going to attempt to do that as a shield for all of Europe. That'd be very nice for us to buy, particularly if they do it. We're trying to do the same thing. So I'm sure we'll work with each other. They are also going to do the Eastern Flank Watch Initiative. What that means is real simple. They're going to put lots of troops on the Eastern Flank. That means on the Russian border. Because they're not taking a chance that he doesn't try to waltz into Lithuania, Latvia, you pick it. Basically, they're saying to him, you want to have war? Screw around. They are then going to do the European Air Shield, which I assume is going to borrow a lot from our Golden Dome, and the European Space Shield, which I also assume is going to work closely with what we're doing. Now, they do have priorities. The eastern flank, the number one priority they want to get done within a year is at least the beginnings and a pretty substantial drone wall. 360-degree approach, multi-layered, technologically advanced system with interoperable counter-drone capabilities for detection, tracking, and neutralization. That's getting ahead of the curve. The eastern flank, so they're hoping to have that starting to operate within a year and a half. And they're going to put it out as they get it. They're not going to wait until it's all complete. The eastern flank is a similar priority program, and they're just going to start implementing it. They think it'll take 2 years to really do that. And it's a set of ground defense systems with maritime security, air defense, counter-drone systems, troops, the Baltic and Black Seas. A little further down the road, which means a year, 2 years from now, are the other two programs, which is the Air Shield and the Space Shield. And they very simply say, militarized Russia poses a persistent threat to European security for the foreseeable future. This was created by Putin. I mean, this is devastating for him.
Right.
He's not a big country. He's not a rich country. This is the second richest entity in the world after the United States. Not China, European Union. And this will all be done in close cooperation with with NATO. And they expect the drone wall to start right away, but to be operational by 2027, and the eastern flank defenses to be fully functional by 2028. So they're not sitting on their backsides. And this is to the credit of two men. Our president and Vladimir Putin. Again, pray for Ukraine, Israel, Iran, my poor city with a communist running, my almost city, New Jersey, with a lying cadet running, who doesn't know how she made $7 million. How's she going to do the budget? She doesn't know where the $7 million came from. And tomorrow we'll get to Virginia. They got a real loser down there in Spamberger too. And the guy who fantasizes, the attorney general, Democratic attorney, who fantasizes babies being killed. Could the Democrat Party get any worse? Yes. So we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them, And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason. We're able to